Hi everybody, welcome! Today I am making a super cute rainbow sprinkles cake in honor of Pride Month. I have been wanting to create a cake with these beautiful buttercream stripes that I keep seeing on social media, and this was the perfect occasion. Alright, let's get into it. The first thing I do is brush some buttercream frosting on my board. Here I'm creating a buttercream dam. I do this to ensure that each filling layer is even. I've already baked my 6-inch round rainbow colored cakes, and then I begin layering them up. I try to keep them all lined up nice and straight so that my cake isn't crooked. Next I run my offset spatula around the sides to smooth out the sides, and then I'm adding a crumb coat to pick up all those crumbs. And then I went ahead and popped it into the refrigerator at that time. Once my cake is nice and cold, I begin covering the cake completely with my buttercream frosting. To do this, I filled a piping bag and I started piping the frosting all around the cake. Now that I have it covered, I smooth it out just a tad. It doesn't have to be perfect here, but you do want a nice thick and even coat of frosting. And next I grabbed my bench scraper and I began scraping the sides of the cake. The icing scraper needs to be sitting flat on the board so that you get a nice straight side. Next I'm adding just a touch more frosting to fill in any gaps and imperfections. And then I go around my cake a few more times to clean it up. To make the stripes, I'm using a Wilton icing comb that I got from the craft store. I begin scraping the sides of my cake with the icing comb. After each pass around the cake, be sure to clean off the comb. Try to get the stripes as neat as you can, and they do need to be pretty deep. I'm using my American buttercream frosting for this, which you can find over on my website. I'll put a link to it down in the description box. Next, I'm piping the colors with the Wilton tip number 12. I'm carefully piping inside each of the grooves. I will say that coloring the buttercream frosting is very time consuming, but it really looks so pretty in the end. Once I filled in all the grooves, I began scraping the sides with a metal icing comb. I was a little worried about how this was going to turn out, but surprisingly, after a few swipes around the cake, it really started to look nice. Just keep scraping until you have it nice and smooth, and be sure to clean the comb off after each time around. To smooth out the top, I'm using my icing comb again, and I'm just scraping off that top edge and pushing the icing in towards the center. Once I had a nice clean top edge, I pop the cake into the refrigerator to chill. Once I had it nice and cold, I begin my white chocolate drips. Using a squeeze bottle, I carefully drip my white chocolate drip down the sides of the cake. This seemed a little scary and hard, but actually it was incredibly easy. Once I finished adding my drip to the sides, I squeezed more on the top to completely cover it, and then I smoothed it out with my offset spatula. While the chocolate is still wet, I'm adding some cute star and heart sprinkles, one by one. Yep, it really is cute though and worth the extra time. I also added some tiny colored sprinkles that I had on hand. Next, I filled a piping bag with buttercream, and I'm using a tip from Bakery Crafts number 5CS to pipe the swirls on the top. I really like making these swirls super tall. They're just so cute that way. Now that my swirls are all finished, I begin making my sprinkled cherries. But this is where I messed up a little. I made a mistake by pulling my cherries right out of the jar and dipping them into the sprinkles and then placing them on the cake. Do not do that. Instead, take the cherries out of the jar, gently dry them off, dip them in white chocolate candy melts, and then into the sprinkles. If you don't cover them in chocolate, the juice from the cherries could start dripping down the cake, so you guys can learn from my mistakes on that one. And lastly, I'm adding more sprinkles to the bottom of my cake. Here, I'm just pouring my sprinkle mixture along the bottom edge of my cake, and then I press them into the sides of the cake with my palm. And then I clean up the mess with the brush. All finished with my rainbow sprinkles cake. It's time to cut it. I always love seeing the insides of the cake too. Thank you all for watching. I hope you learned how to make your own rainbow sprinkles cake. If you have any ideas or suggestions for me, please let me know down in the comments. See you next time.